We be live. Shalom, shalom, everyone. How's everyone doing? Welcome to my personal channel. I am going to try to convince more of you today that you are not going to die. Many of you are not going to die. And that sounds wild. How many of you have thought about that? Let me know in the chat. I'm watching. Where's Sarah? Sarah, are you coming to highlight? Um, yeah, I started a little bit early, so I know. I want to make sure that this is a conversation. I am going to be making the arguments, making the points, and I think by the time I go through all the points that I'm about to make, more of you are going to be convinced, hopefully, with we're going to agree with me that we are at a point in history where immortality is getting very, very, very close. And today I'm going to generally talk about why we are so close. And in some future streams, I will go through the step by step by the scientific research that I'm going to be referring to here on a much more broad way here. We're not going to get into so much details here. I'm going to just show you one example, but maybe in future streams we're actually going to get into more of the detail of the science behind it. Let me make sure I have my, hold on, let me see, media assets style. Oh, Sarah is here. Why am I not seeing her? No, Sarah is not here. Let me actually make sure that I include my name here. There we go. I don't know why that was not there. All right, guys. How many of you think this is, like, before I start over why this is so close, closer than a lot of people anticipate? I don't know. I'm not sure if it's going to reach people like me. It seems like it will, but I am almost 100% convinced that every single child, anybody who could be described as a child today will not die unless a tragic event happens to them. Like, it's a car accident, I don't know, something happens, drowning accident or anything like that. When you look around you and you see children, these are people, these are little human beings who are not just going to live to see 100, not 200, not 500. These are people that you're witnessing, that these are people in your life that are going to live to see 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 years old, and more, unless one of these two things happens. They have an accident, or they choose not to want to live that long, right? All right, have you guys been following the science and the things that are happening when it comes to longevity, escape velocity, and also the reversing aging, or is this new to you guys? I don't know. You said, D, you're talking about something completely irrelevant. So I'm looking for more people who are talking about what I'm talking about. Let me see. Carl is saying, my take, dying is okay. Living shitty lives is not okay. Okay, Carl, this is not about whether it's okay or not. This is about whether even if it doesn't matter to you, the technology is going to get there. The science is getting there. And even if you don't choose to live for a long time, the fact is that we are getting so close to reaching immortality. And if you care about living a higher quality of life, the fact that people around you are going to choose to live longer, this is going to affect the quality of life as well. So this is completely relevant. So you're missing the point here. This is not just going to influence the quantity of life. Obviously, it's going to influence the quality of lives people around you. How many of you guys here are familiar with the concept of longevity escape velocity? If you think this is not going to affect you just because you don't care about living longer, you don't understand what is about to happen. Because everything that we know about civilization and the way of life and what is considered normal is about to completely change. We already went through that with the industrial revolutions 1, 2, and 3. One time, people have experienced this. Like, the way that we're living in the past 200 years is quite unlike what people would have been used to living for the past 10,000 years. Where the fact that this is even normal for us, that we changed the normal way of life that humans were used to for 10,000 years in the past I don't know, 150 years. 150 years is nothing for the 10,000 year civilization that we have had. This has been normalized, and now we don't think much about it. Like, oh, yeah, people used to live differently, and now we have cars and planes and computers. Yeah, sure, things change. Yeah, but that's only 150 years. And now we're going to have another major shift in the world order on a much shorter time frame. So we had 10,000 years, and then within 150 years, we changed everything. And now similar changes are going to come to us in a matter of a few decades, not 150 years. Kenny's saying there's a lot of hype, though. We will see. Kenny, of course there's hype. Let me tell you, but the hype doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Whenever there are actual technological advancements, there's going to be hype around it. Let me give you an example for why I agree with you that there is hype, but that doesn't mean the technology is not here and it's not going to make a difference. For example, Kenny, I hope you stay with me because I'm going to try to convince you why you need to take this seriously. Was the dot-com bubble was a famous example of hype, right? So when the internet came, when the internet became accessible, we had the dot-com bubble. There were so much hype and promises that none of them came true, right? Many companies came and promised you everything, and they delivered nothing, and they went bankrupt. There were so many companies that didn't even change anything, and they just accept the name of the company. Companies that had nothing to do with the internet, and they just put .com at the end of their name, and then their valuations quadrupled just because they changed their name. And there was a lot of hype around the internet. You remember when the internet became, the World Wide Web became accessible to everybody? There was so much hype and so much unfulfilled promises. Hold on. Let me fix this. Do you still have my audio? I'm going to make sure that you didn't get disconnected because of what I did. However, that hype was real. But did the internet go away? Was the internet itself a hype? Or because the internet was actually a disruptive technology that changed, like you could see today, it changed everything. It did change everything. Even though it produces hype, and a lot of those promises do not become, never achieve anything, the underlying technology remains. You go through so many promises and a lot of disappointments, and then when you get the disappointments, a lot of people completely dismiss the technology as useless, but the technology will stay there and it continues to deliver, and it does change everything. Maybe sometimes a little bit later than people anticipated, by some delay. Like people thought it's going to happen within 2 years, it happened within 10 years. Okay, but these are still short times. You know, these are 10 years, 5 years. Maybe people think it's going to happen within five years from now. It happens within 20 years from now. But these are within lifetimes. We're not talking centuries. We're talking decades. Even if the hype is a hype, which it is. Like, for example, when it comes to AI, a lot of the companies right now are just doing nothing. Like, they're just like AI this, AI that, and a lot of them are going to go bankrupt. A lot of them are going to go bankrupt, and they're not going to do anything that they promise. But is AI not something that is going to change the way we live? It's going to completely. I don't know when. Okay, so I know these things are going to happen, and I don't know exactly when. I think it's something. Look how big the range for me is. It's something between 5 years to 100 years. Okay, so we might not see it, but we might see it very soon. I don't know exactly when, but it's sooner than a lot of people anticipate. Sooner than a lot of people anticipate. And I don't even have to predict the future. I could look into the past. So, for example, between 1908 and 1918, if you looked at 1908, if you look at the picture of New York in 1908, there were like no cars in the streets. There was no signs of cars. 1918, you look at streets, there are no horses. Like, the 1908, there's all horses and no cars. 1918, you look, there's all cars and no horses. That's 10 years. 10 years. If I told people 25 years ago that right now the most advanced computer that the US government has access to has much less computing power than that the computers that children in a faraway village in Kenya will be playing games on in 25 years. Not in 100 years, but in 25 years. So, for example, in year 2000, I told you that in the year 2025, children in villages in countries in Africa will be playing games on computers more powerful than the most powerful computers than the US government has access to. You will be calling me crazy. You're like, okay, even if we get that advanced computers like that, it's not going to be this accessible to poor people everywhere. What are you talking about? But the rate of change is accelerating at a much more rapid pace than people anticipate. And also, by the way, Kenny says, I don't care about the quantity of life, I care about the quality of life. Well, I'm telling you, the technology that I'm talking about, that we are about to see, everywhere, not just for the rich, not just in the United States, not just in Canada, not just in Europe, but everywhere. It's not going to just increase the quantity of your life. It's also going to increase the quality of your life. It's going to increase not how many years you get to live by. It's also going to increase the how many healthy years you have. I'm going to show you technology, Kenny, who's skeptical about what I'm showing you. We're not going to be able to just pause aging. We're going to be able to reverse aging. I'm not talking about people who are living, like, who are in their 80s or who are in their 90s and are living in old bodies. I'm talking about people who are 140 years old. Yes, exactly. Health span, not just lifespan. Who have a bodies of 30 years old, of a 30-year-old person. And you know what? Actually, let me not wait until I show you this, because I want to show you that this is happening now, right? Reverse aging is not theoretical. Reverse aging is already happening. And I'm not talking about worms or, non-mammals or like little, I'm talking about mice. I hope you guys understand. If I show you, I'm assuming some of you have already seen this research done by Harvard. If I show you that humans have already been able to reverse aging in mice, I hope you understand that that means that we already have the technology to do such things in humans. However, the regulatory process in which we can get this testing on humans and then eventually be able to include that as part of treatments is very slow. So the science is faster than the regulatory process progress that we are having. So it's not the science is fast, it's the humans' acceptance of the science. That's the part that is the slowest. That's the bottleneck. But let me show you. Kenny, would you be interested in this? Because Kenny is interested in more in the quality of life rather than how many years you live. If I could show you that you are going to be able to live healthy lives, young, like we get the technology that I'm about to show you, we're not only going to be able to give you thousands of years worth of living, but we are going to be able to turn people who are living in 80-year-old bodies. If we get to change those people and give them 30-year-old bodies, would you be interested in that? Because that is quality rather than quantity. Because some of you who haven't been following the science, you might be thinking, what the fuck are you talking about, Armin? This is not achievable. We can't do that. What are you talking about? Well, we have been able to do this for a while now. I mean, you guys haven't received the memo, but let me actually show you this. This is real. So this is Harvard. Okay, this is Harvard Medical School. And let me know if you're interested in me going over the details of how they're doing this, right? But they have shown to be able to, and this is not at the genetic level, this is just at the epigenetic level. And I will tell you the differences if you're interested, because there are a lot of ways for us to be able to not just stop aging, but to reverse age and basically cure death and disease altogether. And honestly, aging will stop, aging will be reversed, and there will be an era where humans will experience nothing that could be described as a disease. It will be the end of disease and end of aging. And honestly, I shouldn't be saying end of disease and end of aging, because aging is a disease and we don't see it as such because we have accepted it. We have accepted aging and death as part of life that we cannot get rid of. So we don't call it a disease, because a disease implies that there could be a cure. So we always separate aging and death from disease. But once we realize that no, actually for aging, there's a cure for aging, then aging itself will be described as a disease. And I'm telling you, we are so fucking close. We are close to getting to a world that has nothing that could be described as either aging or disease. And if you die, if I die, if anybody who watches this show dies, we would be the last humans that died. You have to understand that we have, from all the years that we could have been born, we are either the luckiest or the unluckiest humans who have ever lived. Luckiest because we have had 10,000 years worth of history of civilization. And more than that, we have had 300,000 years of humans living on this planet. And from all the times that you could have been born, you have been born at a time where humans are about to reach immortality. By the way, Sarah, can you come here and highlight the comments, or if you're not able to, that's okay, because I want to have a conversation with people and have comments starred and stuff like that. By the way, Jean, do you want to be admin? Sarah, do you want to be admin here? Let me know. So you're flying so close to the sun. You're right. We're getting so close to the edge of a cliff, and you could either fall or you could fly. You could either become the last humans that ever died, or you could reach. You could just live a little bit longer and reach a time where we have the technology for you to have the choice, at least, to live forever. Or if you're not interested, maybe 1,000 years or maybe 200 years before you give up. By the way, let me actually tell you that if you live to be a 200, you will never give up, because there is no boredom in the world that I'm talking to you about. Because a lot of people think that, you know what, life will get boring at some point. How could you want to live for 1,000 years or 2,000 years, or anything like that? Let me actually. So I think Sarah can't highlight today. Let me tell you why that's not going to be an issue. Boredom is designed. Well, it's not designed. It's metaphorically designed. It's an evolutionary tool to get you moving. We're talking about humans living in an era where all your interests and all your anything you have an appetite for, all your motivations can be completely controlled and re-engineered. You could delete boredom from your mindset if you wanted to in the future. Everything that happens in your mind is completely material. And if it's material, we are learning how to manipulate and change it. Why on earth do you think that we cannot remove boredom? Let me read this for you guys, and then we will go to explaining to you how everything is going to be so easy for us to change things in the way that we want it pretty soon. This one, it says a loss of epigenetic information can drive aging. Restoration can reverse it. Restoration can reverse it. Okay. Loss of epigenetic information can drive aging. Restoration can reverse it. So these people are talking about reversing aging. I will tell you how we could do this at an epigenetic level and on a genetic level. Because do you guys know why you die? Because dying is designed genetically inside, it's been coded inside your DNA. You die because it's useful to die. Dying is not a mistake of life. Dying is designed, metaphorically designed within life. There is no rule within nature that says that that dictates that things have to die. And we know that. Oh, by the way, Nima is here. Thank you so much. Nima is here to highlight the comments because Sarah, for some reason, couldn't come and highlight the comments. So Nima is going to be highlighting your comments. By the way, we need volunteers for highlighting the comments, because so if you guys got on the English side, so if you guys want to come here and highlight people's comments, this is Nima's email. You could email him and let him know that you might be interested in highlighting people's comments and starring them. Thank you, Nima, for being here. Why is dying useful? We have certain animals that never die unless. Do you guys know which animal? Jellyfish, for example. Jellyfish is an. There are certain types of jellyfish that they never die unless a shark comes and eats them or something like that. Like, there is no aging process. In fact, there are signs of reverse aging already built within them. So they could, theoretically, if nothing comes and eats them, live indefinitely. So we have already seen within the life, the death process not being part of, not being designed, not being hard coded in the DNA. Why? Then why do most animals and humans, for example, die? Is it because life could not allow us to live forever? Or is it because there is utility in death? There is a purpose for it. By the way, Nima, can you start a lot of comments, because I have no comments to read right now, if you can. Why is it? What's the utility? What's the utility of death? If you could, the whole purpose of evolution, again, when I say design or purpose or goal, these are metaphorical, because we know in evolution there's no such thing as purpose. But because from our human centric perspective, when we look at these things, we see something that looks like design or purpose, we refer to them as purpose or design and stuff like that. But we know that's not real purpose. That's not something that is there. By the way, let me actually see if I could make Nima an admin here, in case we have. Oh, why can't I make him an admin? Weird. I have to figure this out later. Oh, because this is not a brand channel. That's why. Why is it that within our DNA we have, it's coded, the coding of our DNA is in such a way that humans die within a certain age, elephants die within a certain age, monkeys die within a certain age. If the goal of the DNA, the metaphorical goal, is to make sure that it passes the gene from one generation to another, then why does it deliberately, again metaphorically, kills you at certain point, at a certain age? The point of death is not because life cannot give you indefinite life. The point of death is that you are eating your kids' food. So in every animal, the average age that has been pre-coded in your DNA is based on how useful you are to your kids, to your children, to your offsprings, upon the point that they are independent enough to take care of themselves. And then you need to check out, because we need the resources in this environment for your kids. So the point of aging is for you to die so you don't eat your kids and your grandchildren's foods. The resources so you allow more resources for them. So aging is on purpose. If aging is coded into your DNA, then that means that aging can be decoded out of your DNA. Does that make sense? It's very important. And guys, we are able to change the code, our coding. We have been able to do that for a very long time. We have been able to change our DNA. We it's been I don't know if you guys know that, but this is not new science. This is old science. We have been able to decide which parts of a DNA we want to cut and replace it with the DNA that we want. We have been able to carry DNA with viruses. We use viruses to carry DNA. We use certain enzymes to cut where we want, and then we replace it with the one that we want. Okay, don't change the topic, guys. So if aging is part of the coding of our DNA, and we are already able to change our coding, that means we are very close to the solution. The DNA is very flexible. There's very little things that we cannot achieve by changing our DNA. So how is it that we haven't achieved that yet if this is just a DNA problem? If this can be changed by changing our DNA, and we can change our DNA, so how is it that we haven't solved this? Because what we don't know yet is we don't know what our DNA coding does. We have figured it out in many places, like this is responsible for that, that is responsible for that, but we are so far away from being able to decode the language of our DNA. We don't know what code we need to write to get certain characteristics, remove certain characteristics, change things. We have recently been able to decode protein amino acids, getting from amino acids to proteins. How have we been able to do that? We have been able to do that with AI, using an AI called AlphaFold. So for most of, I hope a lot of you know that the way this works, you get from DNA to RNA. From RNA, the reading from the RNA, you get the chain of amino acids. The amino acids, when you get a chain of amino acids, they fold based on the chain, based on the amino acids that you have. They fold in a way that they create a certain protein, and the protein that protein does everything in your body is done by proteins, like especially the enzyme, which are they catalyze certain reactions. They they're basically a stop or go sign for your entire body for what works needs to be done. So everything that happens in your body starts from DNA, then RNA, then the amino acid chain, and then folds in a certain way, creates a certain protein, and then protein does everything that is responsible for all that you are and everything that you do and every characteristics that you have. DNA is the original code. RNA is the secondary code. The amino acids, the chain of amino acids that comes from that, is the third layer of code, and then the final results is the protein that is responsible for everything in life. Everything in life. We have, with AI called AlphaFold, we have managed to decode the last process, the amino acid to the protein. This is something that humans thought we will not be able to achieve for a very long time. Meaning that we now know, with AI, this is something that humans could never do. Only AI could do this. We now know, to get this protein, what chain of amino acids do we need? And so we could get to, when we look at a protein, when we could see that what amino acids that we need to put next to each other, the code of the amino acids that we need to write to get to that protein. We have gotten so good at this that we have been able to, with AI, create a code of amino acids that gives us proteins that has never been created in nature naturally by itself, with the specific characteristics that we want. We even made a glowing protein. So, for example, in nature, through the evolutionary process, we have proteins that have a glowing functions, like some animals glow, right? But they have their certain protein of themselves. But we have managed to, using AlphaFold, create proteins that glow, but these are proteins that has never been made through the evolutionary process naturally in nature. When we have created fish with the that, for example, glow, and it's based on a protein that has never been made naturally. That is insane that we could do that. And if we keep progressing like this, we have already gone from the amino acid to the protein side. AI will get advanced enough for us to be able to completely decode DNA. And meaning that we will one day be able to, using AI, figure out what is the code for anything that you could fucking imagine. And I'm not exaggerating. Any living being, and I'm not going to take this back. Any living being with any characteristics that you want, as long as it doesn't violate the laws of math and physics. It can violate the laws of chemistry. You could violate the laws of biology. All right, because there is no actual laws. There's only laws of math and physics that are unbreakable. Any living being that you could imagine with whatever characteristics, we will be able to know the DNA code for it, and it will happen. And anything that you want to do with a human body that already exists, by changing its DNA, you will give the AI the characteristics. It will tell you how you need to change the DNA, and whatever the fuck you want to imagine, we will be able to do that. And I will tell you how flexible DNA is. If you think this is ridiculous, that we will not be able to do that or this and that, let me tell you why this has already been done by nature. Guys, the source code of life is the DNA. I know viruses, some of them have RNA, not DNA, but viruses being alive or not is something that is a debate within the biological community. I'm not going to get into that, okay? The source code of life is DNA. Meaning, you know how a source code, for example, when people are coding a website, they don't start everything from scratch. There's already a source code for websites in a certain language, and they took the source code and they build upon that. And if you want to do this program, there's a source code for that, and there's a template, and you start from that. Okay. The source code of nature is DNA, of life in nature is DNA, meaning that there is no difference in the framework of the codes that is in our body that is responsible for a human, than a tree, than a bacteria, than a mushroom. They're all using the same source code. There is no difference. The only difference is the code. It's the same molecules next to each other. It's completely the same structure. Meaning that if you take the DNA molecules from a mushroom and just change the code of the same molecules for it to be the coding of Armin Navabi, and then let that shit grow, it will become a clone of me. If you take a DNA of a fucking tree and you change the coding for it to be Nima, the coding of Nima, it will grow to be Nima. Do you understand how flexible the DNA is? It's all DNA. It's just a difference in the code. It's just a difference in the code. So imagine, with the same chains of DNA with different coding, life has managed to look at the diversity of life. Look at a freaking mosquito that goes and does something very strange that you didn't know is capable, like if you watch documentaries and stuff. Like, nature has managed to do all of that with the DNA, and eventually it decided to metaphorically create humans. Given the diversity of life that you see, that means that these are things that were necessary for survival at that time for that animal or for that living being. But if anything else was necessary, the DNA that could give you dinosaurs and could give you humans and could give you a mosquito and it could give you a tree and it could give you a bacteria. If you imagine another form of life and you think that, the DNA cannot give me that, that's because your failure of imagination. This code of DNA can give you anything. The only reason why we don't we can't create these other things is because we don't know how this programming language works. And AI will be able to help us decode this programming language. You could create animals that have never existed with the most bizarre characteristics. Any fantasy you have of any animal will be able to you will be able to make, or any living being. Like, think about this. Nature has managed to put the information for a tree into one tiny little seed, and you put it on the ground, and it turns into that design that it had in mind in that DNA within that seed. All of that information for all of that design was already in that seed. That means that humans at some point, either with DNA or with another source code that uses nanotechnology, maybe in a different framework from the DNA, we will be able to create programs that we will put on a nanoscale in small spaces that you could throw on the ground, and whatever you want could grow out of it using the resources that it have. I'm telling you, we will be able to create seeds that you throw somewhere and cities will grow out of it. None of this is that extraordinary. Like, all of this is achievable because it has already been done by nature, and all of this is material. The only reason why we cannot do it is because we haven't been able to decode this language, and it's too complex. And AI will be able to remove the complexity for us. This is people, a lot of people think that this is like a religion, but the reason why it looks like a religion, because technology and science eventually always delivers on human ambitions. Religions always promise it, and science and technology delivers. But when science and technology has not yet delivered it, and you are showing people that it's about to deliver, because religion always promises these things, because these are human wants and needs. That's why religion promises it, so that it could take advantage of people. But the difference between religion is that science does actually deliver. And another difference from religion is that these are all limited within the material world. Nothing supernatural about it. Please understand, guys, we have only around 100 years ago, 120 years ago, the average lifespan of humans were 40 years old. Now it's about double that in 100 years. Do you think, so we went from 40 to 78 in about 40 years, about 100 years. So do you think that to get from 78 to 120 is going to take the exact same time? Do you think it grows linearly, or do you think this is exponential? See, the human mind thinks in linear, but a Darwinian progress happens exponentially. That's why we had the Cambrian explosion. That's why life was, for so many millions of years, we had just bacteria, and all of a sudden we had a diversity of life just coming out of, like, as it seemed nowhere. Because an AI is also Darwinian, because it keeps only the AI that is a fast system of trial and error, just like evolution, and only the ones who do the things that they're supposed to do survive, but on a much faster scale than Darwinian natural evolution. And just like life was exponential, it was many years that it seemed like it's flat, and all of a sudden it explodes. AI is also like that. It seems like it's flat for a very long time, and all of a sudden it explodes. It's exponential. The graph doesn't look like a line. It looks like this, and we are right here. In fact, we have been right here in the past 100 years, and you just have to look around to notice it. Yeah. So, guys, we don't have to get to a point, guys, that we manage to overcome death. You just have to be able to live a little bit longer. And if you could live a little bit longer, you will see the day that we will overcome death. So overcoming death doesn't have to be close. Just increasing our lifespan by a few years has to be close. And just to get us to that edge, just to get us to the place where we will overcome death. This is why I should introduce you to the for those of you who might not be familiar with this term, to the term longevity escape velocity. So longevity escape velocity, do you guys understand what this means? This means, so every year that goes by, our average lifespan increases. We already know that. But we either have already, or we will soon reach to a point where every year that goes by, the average lifespan increases by more than a year. So for example, let's say back in the day, every 10 years that went by, average lifespan increased by 1. And then we got to a point that every 5 years that went by, average lifespan increased by 1. And now we're getting close to a point where every 2 years that goes by, average lifespan increases by 1. Once you get to a point where every year that goes by, average lifespan increases by more than 1, or it takes less than a year for the average lifespan to increase by 1, you have technically reached immortality. Do you understand that? Because then you will never reach to the average death age. So for example, let's say you're 40, and right now the average age where people die is 80. Then if by the time you're 41, that average is 82. Okay, then by the time you're 42, that goes to 85. So that means you will never reach it. And we are actually, this is what is called longevity escape velocity. The average lifespan is increasing more every year, more than 1 year every year. That means you will never reach, if you're below a certain age, you will never reach that final age. And we are already there. I don't know why I cannot. Oh, okay. Now I know how to make somebody admin. Finally figured this out, because it wasn't allowing me earlier. Okay. So I just removed D because she's just preaching Christianity to us, which is not the thing on this channel. Guys, Nima, can you comment something so I could make you an admin? Now I figured it out how it works, because somebody was spamming in the chat. Okay, there we go. Nima. Okay, so I have to scroll down. Add as a moderator. Okay. There we go. Oh, fantastic. Finally, we have moderators here. Okay. So the cat lady is saying, overcoming death is not the goal, in my opinion. Better life is longer, perhaps, but not dying feels narcissistic to me. Like when you are on the swing, after a while, you give it to the next kid. All right. So let me tell you why you're wrong. No, put it back up, because I want to respond to this, to the cat lady. Okay. Let me explain to you why you're not. So when you say overcoming death is not the goal for who? The goal for you? Or are you trying to decide the goal for all humans? Right? There are many humans who wouldn't mind living forever, and some people who don't want to live forever. So the point is that we need to have the choice. If you don't want to live forever, that's your choice. But death has to be a choice. And when you say better life is, if you have an amazing life, then obviously if the future is, our qualities of life is constantly improving. It's constantly improving. Every year, people's qualities, our life is improving. Every decade is better than the previous decade. So if our quality lives become so good that we can turn our life here on this earth into heaven, obviously most people will want more of it. If we could destroy death and misery and poverty and stress and all of that, why would most people would not want to die? Most people would not want to die if this life is if we make our life so beautiful. I mean, if you would want to die, that's obviously your choice, but most people would want to live this life. We have created heaven on earth. And even if some people want to die, maybe they want to die after 200, after 300, after 1000. And you say not dying feels like narcissistic to me. Why is that narcissistic? You're enjoying life, you want more of life, loving life and wanting more of it. How is that narcissistic? In fact, it's not narcissistic, because a lot of people want to live longer because they want to enjoy it with other people. Imagine one thing that makes life beautiful is company with other people. If you get to live thousands of years with the people who love, how is that narcissistic? And then your analogy is a false analogy, because look, it says like when you are on the swing and after a while you give it to the next kid. Well, yeah, that's because there are limited swings. We're talking with the technology that we have, resources, we're going to have an abundance of resources. We are going to enter an era of poor scarcity, meaning that there are unlimited swings, meaning that you don't need to get off the swing for somebody to get on it. You could swing next to each other together. That's why your analogy doesn't hold here. Right? Let me tell you the different forms of technology that is going to make immortality possible. One is going to be at the gene level. Actually, let me explain a little bit more. One more thing about the gene, at the gene level, for you to understand why once AI could solve the language of the DNA, everything is achievable, because we could already engineer and re-engineer the DNA. We just don't know what code to put in there. Imagine, for example, somebody taught you, like, this is the technology that we have. We have a website, you could see the code behind it, and I showed you how you could change the code. Okay, great. We have that technology, but you have no idea what to write to make the website do a certain thing. You just know how to edit it. If you change it in the wrong way, the whole website is going to crash. We don't know how to read the language. We just know it on a very limited scale. But AI has already decoded amino acids, and it will soon be able to decode DNA. That means with our ability to change DNA, we could change the DNA to get whatever characteristics that we want at the end. So one is going to be gene therapy. That's going to be at the DNA level. Let me give you an example for you guys to understand what I'm talking about. Before humans, like, imagine the world before humans and dinosaurs were roaming the earth. This planet was full of dinosaurs and no humans. Okay. The DNA that was inside the dinosaurs back then had absolutely the ability to create humans. So the coding of the DNA that you have in your body, that DNA molecules inside the dinosaurs arranged in a certain way would give you a human. There's not the DNA that we have right now. It's not more advanced DNA. It's the same fucking DNA. It's the same thing, just rearranged in a different way. So in a world with no humans, we already had the mechanisms to create humans. So imagine how flexible the DNA is. So that means anything else you could think of, you could rearrange the DNA to create that. Yeah, and I'm saying, whoa, really? Yes, it's the same thing. It's the same molecule. Not only you don't even have not only the dinosaurs. Go all the way back to just when the planet was just filled with bacteria and nothing else. The DNA in that bacteria was capable, just by rearranging the code, right? The A, T, C, and G. If you rearrange it, which is the basic codes of the DNA, you could get trees out of that. You could get humans out of that. You could get dinosaurs out of that, just from that DNA in that bacteria. The world was not ready for those things. But the code was already there. Somebody just had to write that code. So that same code, if you think of a living thing, as long as the laws of mathematics and physics are not violated, you write it, give it to AI. AI will tell you the DNA sequencing that will create that thing, and then you will make it in a lab, and that thing will be reality. So people are like, oh, changing the DNA of humans for them not to age, that seems unreasonable. When I tell you that you could even make any fantastical, crazy animal or living thing real, living buildings, then humans who don't age is nothing. It's absolutely nothing compared to the things that we are going to be able to do with DNA. And imagine if AI at some point gives us something, a different source code for life. I don't know if we would call it life, but for something that does similar things to DNA, but it's a different source code that never would have even crossed our minds. So that's on the DNA level. What I showed you with these mice, though, that's not at the genetic therapy level. That's one level above. That's at the epigenetic level. Let me tell you what that means. Imagine if we don't even change our DNA at all, with the same DNA that is in your body right now. We could reverse aging without changing your DNA. Even though it would be ideal if we could do it with changing your DNA. Why do I say that? Why do I say that even with the current DNA? Because the DNA code that is in every one of your cells, except maybe the red blood cells, in all your cells, is the same DNA. Okay, Nima is going to call me out here. Is almost 100% the same code, because sometimes there's a few during your life. Sometimes you have a few mutations that don't do anything, so there are very small changes, but that's very insignificant. Okay, but ignoring that, your DNA is the same coding than what it was when you were born. Not when you were born, actually, at the moment of inception. No, not the moment of a few moments after the point of inception. When you were one cell, okay, your DNA right now, whatever age you are, let's say myself, I'm 41. My DNA right now is the same DNA, same coding DNA. I have to be careful with my wording because Nima is going to get upset with me, okay? Because technically it's not the same DNA because it's not the same molecules. It's the same code. The coding in my DNA is the same thing than what it was when I was one tiny little one cell big. Okay, it's the same code. So if it's the same code, that means that because that code was responsible for my body when I was 30, when I was 20, when I was 10, when I was 15. That means that the DNA that you have right now as a 80-year-old man is capable of creating a body that is 30, that is 15, that is 20. Why is it acting like it's a body of an 80-year-old? If it's the same DNA, then why does it sometimes look like it's 15? Why does it sometimes look like it's 20? Why does it sometimes look like it's 30? Why does it sometimes look like it's 80? If it's capable of looking like it's 20 or 30, why not just always act like you're 30? Like it's the same DNA, it's capable of doing that. Well, because different parts of DNA is active in different times of your life, and depending on the environment, depending on the time, the DNA basically decides to turn off and on different places and do different things and use the same code for different purposes at different times. But because it's the same DNA, we could tell it to no, can you read it differently? Can you please read this DNA differently like you were doing it when you were 30? So this is basically changing it at the epigenetic level, meaning you didn't change it, the base DNA. You just were like, hey, this is the same. So DNA is kind of like a book. Your entire DNA molecules and every cell is like a book, and every chromosome is like a chapter. So based on the environment, different parts of it gets read for different purposes. So let's say, for example, if you read these chapters this way, you might look like a 30-year-old, but if you read the other chapters this way, you might look like an 80-year-old. So even the same DNA, the same book, read in a certain way, could give you a body of a 30-year-old. And that's what basically was happening to this mice. They didn't change the DNA. They just changed the way that the DNA was used. And you could turn mice that are old into mice that are young. Reverse the aging. You can do that. So that was the DNA level, which is gene therapy. The epigenetic level is called epigenetic reprogramming. Other things that we could do to end aging and disease is that we could reprogram our body for us to become resistant to diseases. We could create viruses that comes and changes the coding within viruses and bacteria. We could use, viruses are themselves a nano technology that are carrier of DNAs and RNAs, and we could actually create either use viruses or create viruses that carry DNA and RNA for us, and to deliver it in certain places to either change our DNA in certain parts of our body, or change the DNA of other viruses or other bacteria, or even of our cancer cells. We could create viruses that only target our cancer cells instead of the rest of our body, and change their DNA for them to stop growing. So for example, cancer viruses, the problem with cancer viruses is that part of the self-destruction part of the your cells just get stopped. It's a cancer is a genetic disease, right? Cancer is a genetic disease because something happens in your cells that the self-destruction mechanism in the cell just stops. So you could deliver DNA to those same cells in your body for it to actually self-destruct. Once we actually learn how to read the DNA using AI, we know exactly what DNA we need to deliver where, and how to make that delivery to be specifically to those cells that we want, because you could actually create the viruses in a way that is only sensitive to those cells specifically to target, and you could have viruses that make it so that you never get cancer ever. And not just viruses, we could actually create nanobots, which actually could be technically identical to what viruses do. We could create synthetic life. We have already created synthetic life. We have now created life in labs that are living beings that act like robots, do certain things. That these are living beings that have not been created in nature. We have actually created synthetic life, and this has been going on for a long time right now, if you didn't know. But we could get these synthetic lives to a point that are very small, and they go into your body and do specific things, very specific things. Create certain proteins in your body that act like medicine or carry specific tasks. One area that is very promising is that we are modeling the entirety of the body on a molecular level, and that means with AI. And when we able to completely model the entire body, a human body, that means that drug testing would be on a scale unimaginable. When new drugs need testing on animals and then human testing phases, if the entire body of a human being gets modeled in an AI, using AI, not like in a silicon world, not in the real world, but at that point, the AI could actually test the effects of any form of chemical that enters into that modeled body that it has. Not only that, it could re-engineer. It doesn't even have to test what this chemical would do in this body. It could actually do that in reverse. It would be so advanced that it could know, based on where every molecule of this human body is, for me to do this, what chemical needs to enter this body to do specifically this without any side effects. It will give you the exact molecule that you need to create to do exactly. So we will be able to create drugs that could do almost anything in our body that we want with no side effects, because the AI model will have the complete model of a human body, and it will reverse engineer exactly what needs to enter this body, in what way, in what dosage, to create this effect. So there would be a drug for anything that you could imagine, with whatever effect that you could want. Not only that, right now we already are making some progress in creating drugs on an individual level rather than drugs for entire humans, because based on our genetics, they are trying to come up with drugs that are specific for me and you, different, like for them to be more accurate. But this is not even close to what we're about to reach. We are going to be able to model individuals, not just their genetic, but everything in their body, so that the drugs that I get will be different from the drugs that you get based on the effects that we want. That's how detailed the drug discovery and production is going to be in the future. Forget disease. We are going to be able to create drugs that will cause effects that are like future humans are not going to be like, oh, give me this so I could fix my disease. The disease problem will be irrelevant at that point in human history. We would be creating drugs for other things, other reasons, um, for enhancing this, enhancing that, feeling this for a day, feeling that for a day, with no side effects. So immortality is actually very basic. Destroying death and destroying aging is actually very basic compared to all these other things that we're going to be doing. This is in the future, guys. A lot of these seems like unrealistic and too much to believe. That's why on this channel and in some of my future streams, we are going to look at some of the research and some of the advancements that we are seeing for me to walk you through the science behind all of this, to see that this is not just theory. This is happening right now. The major bottleneck is the regulations around these things. But this is, we used to imagine these things. And again, we used to imagine these things happening for a while, but it used to be crazy talk. So even though some of us kind of assumed that this is going to happen, because we didn't produce anything like this, we would like talking about it would make you look like a crazy man. But now it doesn't anymore, because I could demonstrate to you all the things that are being happening in this field. And again, remember, all of these things that are happening, there are so many. There are too many to count. Like, this is not one study, one research. There are hundreds of them, and they are so promising. And they are independently, scientists are independently coming up with so many different solutions for the eradication of aging and disease in different fields. And not only each one of them has unbelievably promising effects on the human bodies, the interesting thing is that they're going to have synergetic effects on each other. So, for example, there's going to be this new technology that is going to allow humans to live 20 years longer, and this other technology that is going to allow humans live another 10 years longer. But when you combine them, it's not going to be 10 and 20, so 30. It's going to actually be more than 30. So it's like 2 plus 2 is not 4. 2 plus 2 is 5. They have combining synergetic effects on each other, and scientists are noticing that they complement each other so well. So that's another promising. Nima is saying, appreciate all friends who support the channel with likes and comments. Thank you, guys. Yes, Nima, thank you so much for saying that. And guys, please, if you want to support this channel more, because this is a new activity that we're doing here, and we need more people to watch this, because, guys, nothing is more important than what I'm telling you right now. I will tell you at the end of the show what you're supposed to do based on everything I'm telling you. And what I'm telling you, hi Reza, what I'm telling you is the most important thing. There's nothing in politics, no discussion in religion, no discussion. There's no discussion more important than this, because based on the decisions that you make today in your lives, you will either be nothing one day and you will cease to exist, or you get to be old enough to witness heaven on earth. You get to see humans creating an unimaginably happy world that you get to be a part of. So it's either godhood or nothingness. And it all depends on a few choices that you're going to make in the next couple of years. And nothing, no discussion is more important than this. So some of you might think like, oh my God, this sounds like Amikai's like, this sounds like a cult. I will tell you my suggestions and you will realize that how unlike a cult this is. I will give you the suggestions that I make to you at the end, and you are like, okay, no, Armin, I take that back. This is so the opposite of what a cult would say. I will show you. I'll tell you the recommendations that I have for you guys. So Amikai, stay here, and after the show, at the end of the show, once I tell you the recommendations, tell me if you will still have that. Is that still what you think? Okay. I want you to be here. By the way, one characteristic of a cult is that they don't listen to disagreements, that they shut down opposition, that they don't take criticism, and they want to create a bubble. But here we actually highlight disagreements more and we address them. Right? So, DNA level, epigenetic level, delivery with viruses, nanotech, and um, synthetic life. And then we have modeling the entire body with AI and many other technologies. That another thing that makes this not cult like is I have science to back up everything I'm telling you. And again, that's what's going to be. If cult is it cultish to provide evidence for the claim that I'm making, and I show you the science in the future streams, and instead of just making claims, I come up with evidence. Is scientific discussions and is nerding over scientific discoveries cultish? Okay, so Amkai is saying, I think that a cult leader would say that nothing more important than the things that he is about to say. That is why I said that. Okay, well, I will back it up. I will back it up. Okay, let me see if you agree with this. Could there be anything more important? Is there anything? Would you consider? I mean, this is actually what is important is actually subjective. So I will give you to that. I will give you that. In my opinion, this is the most important thing in the world, and this is subjective to anybody who cares about maximizing well-being. Okay, so let me adjust what I'm saying. It's not objectively the most important thing in the world. I would argue to anybody who cares about, who considers it the most important thing to maximize well-being, reduce suffering, reduce disease, reduce death, reduce sadness. Anybody who thinks that this increasing happiness, increasing satisfaction, increasing prosperity, increasing peace and stability, increasing abundance, if they think, if anybody who has that subjective opinion that this is the most important thing in the world, then, and anybody who personally wants to be part of that and considers it important to see that and experience that and enjoy that and be part of that experience, to any subjective mind that is subjectively in agreement with me on that, to those people, this would be the most important thing in the world. But if you don't care about people's happiness, if you don't care if the people in the world are miserable or not, if you don't want to see human prosperity, if you don't want to experience pleasures and happiness and fulfillment on a scale that humans have never been able to experience, if that is not important to you, then I guess yes. To you, that would not be important. So I changed my narrative based on your criticism, Amakai. Would that be given that I accepted your criticism and I changed my narrative? Would that be less cultish? Is that good? Is that good? So because I think accepting criticism is and changing your wording, that is not very cultish, right? So imagine a world where there's no disease, no death, unless you want it. There's no aging. Everybody is living their best life. There's no scarcity. There's no starvation. There is still some negative things. For example, there's drama. There is jealousy. There is feeling, competition. So there will be some negativity, but there will be no death and destruction. No watching your mother dying from cancer. There will be none of that, right? So the cat lady saying, Armin, this is what a cult leader would say. A cult leader will listen to criticism and change and listen. I mean, if based on that argument, any group of people that are saying anything would be cults. Non-cultish behavior is to listen to people who are disagreeing with you and address them and try to argue for your point based on, and again, non-cultish would be to, you know, uh, talk about scientific evidence for your claims that you're making, which is going to be the point of this channel. So the cat is saying, "I'm joking. Calm down." No, I will not calm down. I refuse to calm down. Okay. All right. So let me actually get to the recommendation phase. I mean, if I could convince you that this is important, it's either important to you or it's not important to you. Okay. I'm not going to be able to change that for you other than showing you that this is coming. Okay. You might like it, you might not like it. It's coming. This is going to happen. And the good thing about people who don't want to live forever, this is not going to be forced upon you. I mean, you could be happy for the people who don't want to die and don't die. I mean, if you want to live temporarily, this is not going to be mandatory. People could choose to accept these therapies and these medicine and these treatments, and they could choose not to, right? So it's good to live in a world where that's a choice. People who want to live longer can live longer, and people are like, yeah, 80 is good enough for me. I'm like, okay, you just don't have to accept the treatment. You could be happy for other people. I mean, even if you don't want to live past 80, it's some of you might want to be like, yeah, I don't want to live past 80, but I at least I would like to live all the 80 years not in a crippled, paralyzed, body like that can't move around. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. I would like to live 80 years of life in a 30-year-old body, because that's the technology we're going to have. So even if you enjoy a temporary life rather than an indefinite one, wouldn't it be good to have the option to live all of it in a healthy body? That would be nice, wouldn't it? Even for people who want temporary lives, because that's what we are able to achieve pretty soon. But how soon? Pretty soon, but how soon? There seems to be, I'm looking at everything I'm telling you guys. It's based on expert analysis. Okay, so the expert analysis seems to suggest that they're quite most of them are in line that this is about to happen. What they're not in agreement on is when. Whether this will happen or not doesn't seem to be the question. Everything I'm telling you will happen, but there's a range of predictions in the experts based on how long will it take for us to get there. Because for you to think that we will not be able to achieve these things, you have to think that there's something supernatural about life, consciousness, or what makes us human. But if you think it's all material, then it's all changeable. Like there's nothing within the laws of biology that says that we cannot rearrange our chemistry in a way that these things would not happen. The only thing that is stopping us from doing it is the knowledge of how to do it. But once we achieve that, of course we are going to be able to do that. So unless you believe in some wish, power, something that makes life a certain special thing, I mean, we have made synthetic life already, so we already know that that's not a thing. But if you think like humans are in a way different, that we cannot change it, but we already have changed human DNA in a way that we have been cured humans of certain diseases, then you have to go to the next step. Like, well, okay, well, aging is something. Yes, we have changed the DNA, that we have fixed certain diseases, but we cannot change aging. Aging is forever. I mean, now we're saying that that's not even the case, right? But this is going to happen, and I don't know exactly when. And that's why it will be important for people who care about this. Again, if you think this is not important, you're right, because this is subjective. What's important to you and what's important to me might be different. But if you agree with me that this is important and it's important to you and you want to be part of this, given that we don't know exactly what this is going to happen, it's very, very important that you do the things that I'm going to be telling you. And here's the part that you might think, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? Is this a cult? Okay. Listen to the things that I think you should be doing. Okay. And this is going to sound very basic and kind of like a mom talking to her child, but is but if you care about this, it's basically as basic as I'm going to be telling you, and it has never been this important. Never been this important according to my what I consider important. Get a lot of fucking sleep. Drink a lot of water. Exercise. Damn, exercise, you don't need to make it complicated. By exercise, I mean just move. Move your fucking ass. Don't be too stationary for all day. Okay? Exercising could be just fucking a walk in the park. It doesn't have to be something complicated. Okay? Quit smoking. Stop eating garbage. Okay? And again, this seems like, oh my God, Armin, you're just telling me to be healthy, care about my health. Caring about your health used to be just means like, oh, I get to enjoy a little bit of better quality of life. Maybe I get to live a little bit longer. It used to be important, but never this important. Because before, people who lived healthy lives and not compared to people who didn't live healthy lives, the difference was they got cancer. They used to, when they were old, they weren't mobile enough. They had to use a wheelchair. People had to come and take care of them. They were a burden to their family. And people who had healthy lives during their lives, maybe when they were 70, they were still mountain climbing, they were running, they were mobile, they were happier, they were less tired, their quality of life was better. That used to be the difference. But now, the difference between somebody who chooses to live a healthy life, quit drinking too. Thank you so much, anti-Islam. Alcohol, quit smoking. But now the difference between somebody who lives a healthy life and somebody who doesn't could be the difference between nothingness and godhood. And I'm not exaggerating. It's as that big of a difference. It's the difference between absolute nothingness and fucking godhood. So the dumbest mistake that you could be making is getting so close. Civilization has gotten us so close to immortality and godhood. And if you miss it by that much because you didn't understand how important it is to get enough sleep at night, because you think like, I'm young and I need to party and I want to drink more. And let's say and you were like, hey, smoking is what makes my life fun. Keep eating garbage, fast food, all of this thing. Don't exercise because you're too lazy. Imagine missing on thousands and thousands of years of pleasure and happiness and fulfillment and love and kindness that humans cannot even imagine. Imagine missing on feelings that the human brain today is incapable of even experiencing because you think drinking alcohol is just way too much fun, because exercising is just too hard, right? So yeah, Kenny's saying yes, mom. So even if you think this is a cult, the whole point of this cult, as Amakai thinks it's a cult, is to tell you to be mindful of your health. And guys, being healthy is not that complicated. A lot of the things that people do for their health, people who are obsessed, I'm kind of obsessed with my health, but a lot of it has little effect compared to the other main simple things that you could do that has most of the effect. I'm not saying don't do those other little things that are important, but I'm saying don't obsess over these little things if you're not doing the fucking basic, which is so easy. You don't need to like, oh, I want to exercise, but gym memberships are expensive and I don't have the tools and I don't have the clothes. Just go out for a fucking walk, like at least 10 minutes a day. Is that too much to ask? At least do that. You don't need gym membership. I mean, if you had a gym membership, great. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, do not come up with fucking excuses. You might be missing on experiencing what it's like to be a fucking god because you're not walking, because we don't know what this is going to happen. I mean, for some of you, this might not matter. I don't know. Like, if you're young enough, it might not matter. You might getting it. We might be getting it soon enough that even if you're smoking, we might get there. But we don't fucking know. If you're above 60, then you're definitely need to be doing what these things if you want to see that world, because you might be missing out. I might be missing out. We don't know that, because we don't know what this is going to happen. You have to stretch your lifespan as much as you possibly can. Track no, don't track, because that might be hard for you. I mean, track, it's good to track, but if you think that's too hard, just get here. Get something like this and make sure it's always filled with water and have it next to you. Even if you don't want to track how much water you're drinking, just make sure there's always drinkable water right next to you. It's reachable. Just do that's a simple habit to have. Even if you're not mindful about it, just by having water, drinkable water next to you, that's going to make you drink more water. Sleep, motherfucker. Just go the fuck to sleep. If you're not getting 7 or 8 hours, that's on you. Just go to sleep earlier. Oh, Michael's saying Armin has become a transhumanist. I have been a transhumanist for a very, very long time, but I haven't been talking about it because I was waiting for the science to come be here for me to be able to speak with evidence. Nima is saying, I'll start right now. Yes, good job. Sleeping again. So what are the main things? Smoking and drinking, quit that shit. Drink a lot of water, sleep a lot, move your fucking body. I'm not even going to call it exercise, because a lot of you are going to be like, ew, exercise. Just move around, do something, dance. Oh, here's what you could do. You could just turn on some music on your phone and fucking dance. How about that? Just dance. I think those are the basics. Okay? And guys, if we actually get to see the next 1,000 years, you better fucking thank me if I was responsible for you being able to reach to see that world. Because I could tell you that at some point, if we make it to that world, we're all going to be connected. We're all going to become connected. But that's a discussion for another video. So, yeah, Amikai say just that. Hey, Amikai, how cultish is what I'm saying? Telling people that to just live healthy lives. I mean, let me give you a version of Pascal's wager, because Pascal wagers doesn't make sense, because God believers say like, hey, just believe, because if you don't believe and there is a God, you go to hell. But if you believe and there's no God, you don't lose anything. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you don't lose everything? We have lost so much because of your fucked up, because of your God, because of your religion. We have lost so much. You're acting like there's no cost associated with believing in bullshit. There's a lot of costs associated with believing in bullshit. And also, they don't tell you, with the Pascal's wager, the problem with that is like, okay, but this God might not actually be the right God. Okay, like, what am I supposed to do? But here's a version of Pascal's wager. This is Armin's wager. That makes sense for what I'm saying. Either what I'm telling you is true or it's not true. Okay? Either this is going to happen or it's not going to happen. This is not a false dichotomy. It's a real dichotomy. Okay? Either we will reach immortality or we won't. Humans will never reach immortality. Anything remotely resembling immortality. But there's a chance. So what are the consequences of you taking this seriously and doing what I'm telling you? If we are about to reach immortality, that means that you increase your chances of reaching it. But if we don't, if we never reach that, you ended up living a healthier life. Okay, because of taking your health seriously. At the end of the day, it's win-win. Yes, Kenny's saying, I see what you're saying. It can't hurt. Okay. So take your health as seriously as if immortality, godhood, and heaven here on earth built by humans is at stake. That's how I'm telling you to take health seriously. And even if it doesn't happen, you're not going to regret doing that. You're not going to come to me 20 years from now and be like, Armin, you fucked up my life. I regret all those times that I got extra sleep. I regret quitting smoking. I regret. I don't think you're going to come and say, like, oh my God, Armin, you destroyed my life. Okay. All right. Yeah, guys. To 3025 with Armin Navobi. Yes, yes. Guys, this is not a joke. A lot of you are going to in year 3025, we're going to remember this moment, and you guys are like, Armin, I don't know how you knew all this, but you're right. You were right. Guys, it's amazing. You know what would be funny? If I'm telling you that this will happen, and because I'm 41, but and a lot of you are younger than me, right? But imagine if like a lot of you who are in your 20s and 30s see this world that I'm talking about, and I miss it. And I'm like, oh, Armin was telling us that we're gonna see this world, but he didn't. He missed out, and we are now living forever. Okay. Oh, Nima is saying to forever, Armin. Okay, I hope so. I hope so. Uh, Gaming fan is saying, I recommend a peer review paper on the topic of anarchy and anarchy and transhumanism by William Gillis, an experimental physicist. Okay, that's interesting. Kenny saying, sounds great, but also dangerous in some ways. Why is it dangerous? That I would be very interested to know, why do you think that's dangerous? How is that dangerous? Again, let me remind people, there's two. Some people are convinced that this is going to happen, but there's two things that they're worried. One of them is that it would be boring to live for thousands of years. It's not boring, because you will have complete control over your minds. Everything that happens in your mind is a chemical reaction. It's completely material. Being bored was. Do you know why being bored was designed evolutionary for us? Is to keep us moving. So boredom is actually something that been coded within us. And if it has been coded within us, it could be uncoded, it could be removed, or it could be changed. So you don't have to worry about boredom. Whether you get the only time humans in the future will be bored is when they want to remind themselves about what it was like when they got bored. They were like, hey, I miss the feeling of boredom. Let me turn on boredom and see and remind myself how that felt like. Humans in the future would only be bored by choice if they want to feel boredom. So we don't have to be worried about boredom. Another thing that we don't have to worry about is overpopulation. People think like, oh, if we don't die, we'll be overpopulated. We will not be overpopulated. The speed at which our resources has increased always with technology has always been faster than the increase in population. Throughout history, we have always had this scare of like overpopulation. Overpopulation is only a problem in certain countries in a few places, but most of the world is the problem of most of as countries advance, as economies advance, as science develops. Usually the problem becomes underpopulation, not overpopulation. And underpopulation is going to continue to be a problem for us until AI takes care of all of our work. And we have so much space under, above. We have so many deserts that we could. There's so much living area, and this Earth has much more to offer than populations unimaginable that we cannot extract because of lack of technology. But the lack of resources for population is not going to be an issue, because we are reaching an age of abundance. We're not going to run out of space. We're not going to run out of food. We're not going to run out of water. Do you understand that we're at the edge of an industrial, the fourth, like we are right in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, and this one is not just energy, it is energy and information. And with with the unbelievable access to energy that we're going to have in the near future, water desalination is going to be so easy. We're going to be able to turn deserts into uh, into fields of for agriculture in a way that was unimaginable. We are going to be able to genetically engineer food that grows out of places that we couldn't even, grows in a way that we could never imagine. We're going to be able to turn sunlight into food on a scale never seen in history. In fact, we might not even need food at some point. We might get to a point that we only eat food for pleasure. So no, overpopulation is not going to be an issue. Somebody saying, where is your longevity escape velocity timeline? Oh, timeline. Oh yeah, Kurzweil has it at 2029. I'm thinking is farther away. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking it's farther away too. But every time I thought it was farther away, then I was proven wrong. So if anything, like, you know, I was always very optimistic about where we're heading, and every time I have been proven wrong. The way I have been proven wrong, it was that I wasn't optimistic enough. Like I've been talking about these things for the last decade, and when I told people where we're about to head, people always told me this is too optimistic. And then when the science came and things actually happened, I saw that I was apparently not optimistic enough. Every time I was wrong is because things were actually closer than I anticipated. Unlike when people told me that it's farther away than I anticipate, it always ended up actually being closer than I anticipated. I would still, for the sake of not looking like a crazy person, I will go. I will say that it's beyond 2029. And I also want you guys to be careful, because if we say it's 2029, a lot of you are not going to take the health advice seriously, right? So assume it's farther away. Assume that you might not make it. Assume that you would only make it if you could expand your life by another 5 years. Like you could increase your lifespan by another 5 years. Because if you think it's 2029, you might live a life that you're not going to make it. So I don't know. Honestly, the answer is I have no idea. Because I just look at the experts. I look at the experts and they don't seem to agree. And when most of the experts agree that this will happen, but when they don't agree. So if they don't agree, then our answer should be we don't know. The cat lady is saying, yet why haven't we stopped cancer cells from dividing? This moved nothing in the last decade. Yes, yes, some new stuff happens, yet cancer kills all the time. Okay, so we have, when it comes to medical technology, the past couple of decades have been so fast in our improvements that we have become spoiled in how fast we want things to happen. Okay, like in the past 50 years, we have done so the reason why cancer is becoming a bigger deal compared to before is because we have solved so many medical problems with the advancement in medical technology that people get to live to an age when cancer becomes a problem. Because people who have cancer, they were supposed to die by something that kills them earlier. And we have fixed so many things that now cancer is becoming a bigger deal, right? No, cancer death has not decreased. Cancer death has increased. But the reason why cancer death has increased is because we solved so many of other things that people die by, that cancer became the reason that they died, because they didn't die from other things, because so many other things were solved. That's why we have, so it's the fact that we have more cancer is not a failure of medical technology. It's actually a sign of the success of medical technology, because people lived so long that they die with cancer before dying with those other things. And we actually recently have made, in the past year or two, We have made so many new advancements with cancer treatment, and this area of cancer treatment is about to explode because the AI tool is now entering our arsenal. Okay. And that is going to be a game changer. That is going to be a major game changer, AI. So, based on all the analysts that I'm following, all the experts in this field, this is everything is about to change. And Nima approves, and Nima is more knowledgeable in this field than me. So, when he approves, that means that I'm saying something correctly. Because we are right at the beginning, Cat Lady, to also get to cancer as well. Because with the AI tool, you'll see how many of these unsolvable problems become solvable. Seb is saying, Armin, so what is the thing precisely that made you so convinced? Why are you suddenly so passionate about the topic? I myself don't see anything special from AI, expect crappy music and videos. Okay, that's because you're not looking, Seb. Okay, that's because you're not looking. First of all, I haven't become passionate about this all of a sudden. I have been passionate about this very same topic for the past decade. However, I haven't been talking about it because without the most recent advancement, you would sound like a fucking crazy person if I talked about the things that I thought would happen. I mean, I did sometimes uh, mention it on the Atheist Republic channel here and there, and every time I mentioned it, there was people in the live chat like, Armin, what the fuck is wrong with you? You sound like a crazy person. But now we are reaching to a point where all of the science is now there. And again, subscribe to this channel because we are going to be discussing the science behind everything I'm telling you in future streams, so you see it. But for example, if you think AI is just gives you crappy music, by the way, that crappy music is soon going to turn into good music. You'll see. But if you think AI can only give you crappy music and crappy videos, search, for example, one of the most impressive things that we see AI has been giving us is AlphaFold. Just go search AlphaFold and the things that it's able to do and the revolution that it's going to be is making or is already making in medical technology. Just look for that because as soon as you just scratch the surface, you will be surprised about how fast things are changing. The cat lady is saying, yeah, or the yeah. So here's the cat lady saying, yeah, yet cancer and Alzheimer is here, guys. Please understand that we're talking about what is about to come, not about what we are at right now. Do you understand that the AI that we have today is pathetic compared to what's about to come? We are only at the amoeba stage at AI. We are seeing it. We are talking about the things that are about to happen, and then you mentioned about how things are right now. When we're talking about things that are about to change, that means that we haven't achieved them yet, but we're about to achieve them. That's the whole purpose of talking about changes to come that are about to come very soon. That is the point. The cat lady is saying, Armin, where can we send donations for your cult? Great stream. I love the top. Oh, wait, I didn't read the full thing. Is here and stronger than ever. They say Alzheimer is on the brink of a huge break for as long as I live. As long as you live, you have, how old are you? Cat lady. We're talking decades. Decades is nothing. And also, we never had this tool that we are about to get right now. We're about to get to the point where we can model the entire human body. Do you understand when it comes to pattern recognition and what causes what on such small scales in such complex systems? The human mind was never able to achieve what AI is going to be able to achieve. We're talking about complexity on a scale that no human mind could wrap their mind around, and now AI will be able to model these things molecule by molecule. So of course we are going to be able to do things on much faster scale. But even I'm even at this scale that we have had in the past couple of years, that's actually fast. It's going to get a lot faster, but the progress that we have had, I think we have been spoiled by advancement in medicine and technology, because we don't remember how slow these things used to be, and it gets faster every year as well. The fact that we're making progress, we were making progress every decade, that might seem slow to you, but that was much faster than the progress that we had before, and it's much slower than the progress that we're going to have in the near future. The distance between the discoveries are getting shorter and shorter every year. It only looks long because we have been spoiled by so many new discoveries. I mean, we used to get impressed by new vaccines being discovered, but now we're like, well, why is this disease still there? Like, I just solved so many I just cured science. Like, I just cured so many uncurable diseases in the past 10 years, and you're complaining that why there's still some left. Of course there's still some left. Like, I just fixed so many things. You're saying, like, why are we not there? Because here's the thing, the cat lady, even if these two things that you're mentioning were cured now, then there will still be some diseases right now that you could point to that we haven't had cured, and you'll be like, well, how come we haven't cured these ones yet? So you're saying the thing that I'm telling you that will happen, which is basically the curing of all disease. Your complaint is like, why haven't we received there already? Why haven't we reached there already? Well, because we're talking about the future, not about now. So let's look at this one. I hope, but by the way, I appreciate the question. Sometimes my tone might suggest that I'm not appreciating them, but I am appreciating them. So it's good that you're challenging me in this. And then the cat lady is saying, Armin, where can we send donations for your cult? Great stream. I love the topic. Hate the teasing. Love you. Hate the teasing? Okay. I hope my tone, don't get upset with my tone. Okay. I'm just very passionate about this topic. I appreciate the questions. This channel has not been monetized yet, because this channel has not been active for a very, very long time. So I would appreciate liking the stream so that we could monetize it soon. But thank you for wanting to support us. But guys, seriously, this is like, given like, I know you guys are joking, but I am very sensitive about not being cultish, and I think I do a very good job in avoiding that by listening to criticism, debating, trying to accept mistakes. Okay, so if you genuinely sometimes see that maybe I am not doing that, let me remind me so I'm careful about it. Michael saying references to peer-reviewed papers from respectable journals, please. Yeah, so I mean, for this stream, I already showed you guys that reversing aging is already achieved, and this is on Harvard Medical School. So this is one example. So we have so many different things that is happening. There's so many. If I want to show you all of them, this would be a 20-hour stream. For this stream, this is what we're starting with, to show you that I'm not making this shit up. And the rest of them, we're going to cover them. This is going to be a very nerdy channel. Like when it comes to gene therapy, epigenetic programming, modeling the human body, using nanobots or synthetic life, using viruses to carry DNA, and all the effects that they have. We're going to go through the sciences, of course, but for this stream, because this is just an introductory of some of the discussions that we're going to be having, and many, many, many more streams to come. But for this stream, just to give you a taste, this is I thought this would be interesting to you guys, because it's not just stopping aging; it's already reversing aging in mice. And guys, mice they're mammals. Mice is so close to humans. Like, if you can reverse aging in mice, of course we could reverse aging in humans. How different do you think mice are to humans? So I already showed you guys. I showed this at the beginning of the stream. I don't know if you were there, Michael. But we will have more of this, more and more and more. Okay, so let's go to Sarah. Sarah saying, with AI genetic mapping acting as a nutrient governor, it would make it clinical applications precisely target, uh, what is that? Atrophied, I don't know that word, or degenerative tissues, or in endocrine. Oh, Sarah, you know these things. So you send me that endocrine maldistribution, highly complex. Okay, I need to screenshot this so I could look this up. So Sarah, can you send me some of these things so I could maybe show it in the future streams? We could discuss this. Okay, so we could nerd out over these things because I don't know some of these things that you're talking about. It would be interesting for me to look into what you're looking at. Okay, so send me that so that maybe that we could, you send it to me on Telegram so we could look at this. um Dean is saying, I don't want to live forever, I have seen enough. Okay, well, you haven't seen anything yet. You haven't seen anything yet. The what human beings are about to achieve is so much more compared to anything humans have experienced yet. So if it's enough for you, it's enough for you. That's good. But if anybody experiences the world that I imagine we're going to have, then no, they would. Most people would not want to miss out. If you could see the world that I'm imagining humans will have, you would want to. Even it's not narcissistic because you might want to see it for the sake of seeing so many other people happy. You know, you might, especially those of us who get joy out of seeing happiness from other people, saying living in a world that had so much misery and then living long enough to see the world overcoming sadness and misery and stress and instability and achieving through science and technology, delivering a world whereas happiness is so abundant. I mean, at least, I mean, even if I don't live forever, it would be nice to live long enough to see humans achieving that, to be happy for other people. That good job, humanity. You solved it. You fixed it. Seb is saying, if you were wrong, we would have lost a lot of parties and fun. Being healthy is a boring life. I mean, okay. I mean, if you think I'm betting on, okay, I accept this criticism. I am betting on most people here wanting a high quality, healthy life. Like if they think that, smoking and drinking is worth being living your 60s and 70s and your 80s, being immobile, needing people to come wipe your ass for you, not being able to eat your own food, living years of your life not being very mobile, having pain and aches all over your body, being a burden to your loved ones. If you think that is worth, the drinking and the smoking, maybe for you, then you have to think like, if Armin is wrong, then I would be losing all this party time. Okay, but I accept that criticism. But I'm assuming most people here would actually, even if what I'm saying doesn't happen, they actually wouldn't see it as a loss if they drank and smoked less and slept more and drank more water and did some exercise and were healthy. And in their 70s, they're completely mobile and they're with less pain around their body. They think like, you know what? Maybe I lost some party time, but I prefer this. Okay, so I think like based on your preference. So I maybe I assumed wrongly that most of you think like that. Okay, but for if you think like Seb, then maybe this would be a loss for you. You're right. Um, Darko is saying in 2000 years we'll be talking about this stream. Yes, I mean depends on what you mean by talking, because I don't know if we would use languages, but in 2000 years we will probably be communicating in a way that could not be described as talking. Okay, but Darko, yes, in 2000 years we will be communicating somehow about the stream, but I don't know if we will be talking unless we have anything remotely resembling nostalgia reminder remaining in our connectome, in our code, and we want to experience that, so we will talk on purpose for old time's sake. Imagine if we talk, like, imagine if Darko and me 2000 years from now were somewhere uploaded in the cloud somewhere, and we're not even technically Armin and Darko. We're basically mixed with with the rest of humanity and AI. But somehow in the middle of all of that code, the, there's an Armin entity and Darko entity created, and they sit next to each other and talk. For old time's sakes, they talk and they refer to the stream. And like, remember that when we were separate entities, humans, we said that this will happen. We made it happen, even though we don't need to, for the sake of making it happen. That should be a movie. Wow, I just wrote a movie. All right. Amika is saying, when can we expect to get our superpowers? Well, here's actually, that's a very good question, Amikai. Let me actually tell you something. You can expect to get your superpowers around 20 years ago, because we already have super. I don't know. This is like, I'm treating this question more seriously. I know we're having fun, but I'm treating it seriously, because again, when I say we will be living like gods, we will be godlike in the near future, I think I'm wrong, because we are already living like gods to people 1,000 years ago. So my prediction is not an extraordinary prediction. If people 1,000 years looked at you today and looked at the life that you have and the things that you can do, the only description for that for you would be a god, especially the non-Abrahamic people, right? I mean, even Abrahamic people 1,000 years ago, I think, would call you a god. Maybe 2,000. Maybe let's go 2,000 years, right? So we already have superpowers. We can get to places in a matter of hours that took people years of travel. The fact that I am talking to you, Amikai, right? The fact that you're in some place on Earth and I'm in a completely different place on Earth, and we are talking in real time to people before us, that is a superpower. People, you have to have godlike capabilities to be able to communicate in real time for people who are living in different places of the planet. So we already have superpowers, but superpowers become normal as soon as we get them. All I'm telling you is that this same trend that we have been experiencing in the past 150 years is going to continue. And just in the same way that we have things that we could not imagine would be achievable this fast to so many people, whether they're poor, rich, or whatever, that's just going to accelerate. Again, 25 years ago, if you told people that people in the farthest villages on earth are going to have access to computing powers that not even the US government has, people will call you crazy. Right? When people were starting to use cars, if you told them like, oh yeah, pretty soon we will be landing on Mars within 2 generations, people were like, yeah, I think it might take more longer than that. But now, again, anything that we promised that we could do and we are not doing, for example, flying cars. Okay, it's not a limitation of information, it's been a limitation of energy. We already have technologies for flying cars. So we don't need just better technology, we also need a new industrial revolution that is also gives us much easier access to energy, which is happening because solar panels are being reduced. The prices of solar panels are having in much shorter times than people anticipated. So we're not just in the middle of an AI industrial revolution, we're also in the middle of an energy industrial revolution. Even if fusion doesn't happen. So yes, superpowers are already here, and there are a lot more to come. A lot more to come. And then Seb is saying, what is the risk that powerful people will keep that to themselves? They might be immortal, but why would they share with the common people? Well, because we see that about every other technology and medical advancements that is quickly spreads. It's expensive and not available to most people for a very short time, and then it immediately becomes very widely accessible. I mean, look at just example I give you. Look at cars from 1908 to 1920, 1918. Now and then 1928, it was everywhere. It was a technology, and it was everywhere. It's now in 1928. It was there. It was spread around the poorest countries. The most advanced computer technology. Now, if you go in the most remote villages in the farthest, uh, in most remote villages in the poorest country, children and even people who are begging in the streets, sometimes you see they have smartphones in their hands, which is more advanced technology than even the richest people have had access to. Guys, the life that we are living today is most of us are living today is better than Marie Antoinette, the richest people on earth, just less than 200 years ago, didn't have air conditioning. Can you imagine living life without air conditioning and heating? Marie Antoinette, the entertainment that you have access to your phone, Marie Antoinette had to travel to Paris to get a decent show once every a couple of months. Imagine the computer games that you have access to, the life that the diversity of food that you have access to is greater than kings and emperors had access to for thousands of years, for 10,000 years. And why would rich people, and first of all, what would be the motivation for rich people to keep this to themselves? Rich people want to make money, so they would want to sell this to highest number of people as much as they can. And rich people compete with each other, so they would be competing on prices. So based on how rich people operate, the only thing that will happen is that these prices, based on the competition between them, the prices will reduce. This is what has happened with every other technology. We don't even have to guess this. We just have to look at the trend of every other technology that came before us. Do you think rich people are just completely in line with each other? They're competing with each other for customers. So competing with each other for customers means lower and lower prices. All right. There's that. I answered your questions. I think this was a very successful stream. I'm happy. Don't forget to like the stream. Don't forget to recommend this channel, because this channel is going to be, in my opinion, again, because some people complain that, oh, why are you saying this is the most important? Based on my subjective understanding of what's important, there is no topic more important than what I'm talking about, because we're talking about the difference between death and absolute happiness in ways that people have never seen, and not just for you, but for the highest number of people. For and what could be, I mean, if you think something else is more important than this, then tell me. I am telling you what you need to do to increase your chances of seeing a world unimaginable. We are this close to immortality. We're so close to immortality. Just take it. I think you should take it seriously. I think you should take this more seriously than anything else. Anything else. Just don't die. Okay? Just try not to die. And don't do stupid things. Don't do risky activities that could get you killed. Okay? All right, guys. See you on the next stream, and hopefully for thousands of years to come. Okay. Okay. Let me know what you think about this show. I will, on this channel, I am spending a lot more time reading the comments. So please leave a comment, because I take the comments, because this channel is much smaller and much less busy. So I mean, on the Atheist Republic channel, I do read the comments, but I don't get to tend to every comment as much as I can on this channel. So people are saying great stream. Yeah, yeah, and please, guys, tell me, Kenny, I'm glad that you actually stuck around, because at the beginning you were leaving. Kenny saying great show. Look forward to more content. I'm glad that I convinced you to stay. Thank you so much, Kenny. The cat lady is saying to infinity and beyond. Buzz Lightyear. Yes, yes, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. All right, guys, and tell me if you think this is good. You appreciate this channel. That in the comment section, it really does motivate me if I see you guys telling me to do more of these shows. And Seb is saying yes, interesting. Seb, I appreciate your skepticism, and all of the everyone else, Amikai, the cat lady, Kenny. I want people to in the comments to push back against the things I'm saying, so I could respond to anyone who's skeptical about what I'm saying. Again, and this channel is about to get more nerdy, more sciencey. Sometimes we're just going to talk about not going too deep into the science. We're just going to talk about philosophically, but sometimes we're going to bring the research and look to the details behind the science of what I'm talking about. And I'll show you that this is not just Armin talking. These are experts in the fields are saying what I'm saying. Okay. So we go over that as well. Anyway, guys, love you guys, and till next show. Don't forget to like the stream. Okay, thank you. Bye.